E3. Is there a more magical time of the year for games? Okay, well, besides those. This is the time of year where gamers come together to experience the excitement of new hardware and software announcements from EA, Microsoft, Bethesda, Ubisoft, Sony, and Nintendo. Let's take a peek of what they had to show us this year, starting with everyone's favorite money vampires, EA. We promise that this year, we won't have any cringy moments.
And that's that games are the best form of entertainment on the planet. Yeah!
I went early, Roger.
What up, guys? Thank you for having me, EA. If you guys don't know who I am, my name is Jesse Wellens, and I am a YouTube creator. So I am here to talk about Need for Speed Payback. If you guys didn't know, Need for Speed Payback, yeah, it's a great game.
Next on our tour of E3 is Microsoft, where our good friend Billy is participating in a little game with his friends. Each time someone on the press conference mentions 4K, Billy has to take a shot of vodka. Let's check in with Billy now and see how he's doing.
When the renegade group of gamers, creators, and engineers came together to form the original Xbox team and deliver the first Xbox console, we were driven.
Okay, Billy, you just take it easy for now while we go and visit Bethesda Land, which promises endless joy and excitement.
Welcome everyone to Bethesda Land.
But let's not forget about our friends at Ubisoft, where I hear they've got a few surprises up their sleeves tonight.
It is my great honor to welcome a very special guest, someone I truly admire. Please.
That panda just dabbed. That panda just dabbed. That's it. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. We now move on to Sony, who arguably stole the show at last year's E3. Can they do it again? Let's see.
Thanks for coming, everyone. Tonight, we're going to show a bunch of trailers for things you've already seen and give some really vague-ass release dates for most of them. Thanks, everyone.
Will there be anything for Vita?
What the fuck is a Vita?
And lastly, we have Nintendo. Now, Nintendo has the shortest conference, so let's not expect too much from— oh my god, Metroid Prime 4! Oh my god, it's over. It's over. Nintendo wins. Nintendo wins. I can't. Nintendo wins E3, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. They win. Alrighty, everyone. Let's actually talk about E3 2017 for reals now, instead of, making fun of it. Even E3 is always a great target for making fun of things, because shit always goes wrong. This year's E3 went pretty well, except for, EA's sort of mishaps. Apparently the thing with Jesse, what's-his-face, the guy from Prank vs. Prank, his, teleprompter fucked up, and that's why he was, cringy, but whatever. Let's actually talk about the games now instead of making fun of shit. So, we'll start off with EA and just go down the list in chronological order. So it goes EA, Microsoft, Bethesda, Ubisoft, Sony, Nintendo. So let's go with that. So first up, let's talk EA. They showed Madden and FIFA 18. Madden has a story mode now called The Long Shot, which looks okay, and FIFA continues its story about Alex Hunter, who is apparently the most important person in all of footballing history ever.
Alex Hunter.
Alex Hunter.
So, whatever. They showed Need for Speed Payback. Not a lot to say on that one. It's pretty. It looks good. Then again, every racing game looks good because racing games are easy to make look good. But it looks like it's trying too hard to be Fast and Furious, so whatevs. If the car customization is any good, they didn't really show much of it. They just showed like recoloring sections of a Beetle. But if the car customization is good, then maybe I'll play it. I haven't played a Need for Speed game since Need for Speed Underground 2. So there's that. They also had the obligatory "here's an indie game to show we totally still have a soul" segment. And I would be excited for it if the indie game they showed last year, which was Faye, if that didn't go completely silent. Like, there has been no video updates, there's been no posts on social media, there's been nothing from Faye. And, you know, I can only assume that Faye was sacrificed to a shrine dedicated to Peter Moore to, you know, get him back in the games industry. But, you know, that's just my theory. That's just a game theory. They also teased BioWare's new game Anthem, which I'm very interested in, but they didn't show it because Microsoft must have paid them a fuck ton of cash money YOLO bitches to show them at their conference. But don't let them fool you and be like, we wanted to show off the power of the Xbox. Oh, I'm not even going to say the name. I'll say the name once I get to Microsoft's thing, because it is a doozy. But we've probably given the most time out of everything was Star Wars Battlefront 2. And it's a good thing too, because I mean, personally, I don't want to see a bunch of sports. I'm more interested in Battlefront 2. And I'll be honest, I'm very excited. But I am very cautious and very skeptical about it. And this is the reason why. Because the way they showed Battlefront 2 was shit. Like, firstly, they boasted about having a story mode, and then proceeded to show roughly 30 minutes of multiplayer gameplay. Why not show the story mode? Like, the story mode is what you've been hammering home more so than the multiplayer, and it's what everyone is excited for. I mean, if I was in the shoes, I would have showed story mode, because that's, like, the big improvement, apparently, according to John Boyega. By the way, that tweet that they showed from John Boyega, that's actually real. That was a real tweet. They didn't just make it up. I don't know if it was... the date is correct, or near enough to correct. It might be different for me because I'm in Australia, but I don't know if EA put them up to it or not. I don't think so. I wouldn't assume so. But that tweet is real, so there's a fun fact to you. But anyway, another thing I was very confused by was the fact that they brought iJustine again. Look, I get that she's charismatic, and people love her, and she'll work for anyone as long as you pay her plastic toys, don't make her cry. But you couldn't have maybe, I don't know, pick one of those streamers you were highlighting at the start of the show to help commentate over the gameplay with Golden Boy and the other guy? That, in my mind, would have been much smarter than iJustine, whose last upload to her gameplay channel was 7 months ago. And it was a Call of Duty live stream. Ugh. Anyway, let's actually talk about the stuff that they showed instead of the stuff they didn't show. Was the multiplayer good? It wasn't bad. It looked the same as Battlefront 1. And apparently there are classes, so that's a thing, but I didn't see any of them come into play. Like, I saw them carrying different guns, and sometimes there were different kinds of droids. But I did not see how the classes added to the fight in any particular way instead of just shooting dudes. Maybe I need to actually play it to figure it out. But they showed it terribly because they only showed like 3 or 2 perspectives from each side of the fight, or 3, I don't know. Like those Muselk Battlefield updates, because we're all a big fan of Battlefield updates. And like if they just showed more perspectives, like I know Peanut Butter Gamer and MatPat from Game Theory was there as well. Like, why not show them? People love them. But yeah, it was presented poorly, It looked fun, but yeah, the classes didn't do anything. Also, another thing that I'm very concerned about the multiplayer is the heroes. The heroes still looked overpowered as fuck, and more than one can be in play now. I don't know if that was the case in Battlefront 1, but yeah, at one point, it was Darth Maul and Boba Fett on the Separatist side. And I like that they're like mixing and matching the timeline, so you don't have to be a specific hero for a specific timeline. That's fun. But still, like, 2 at once. Like, 1 is more than enough. And, you know, the heroes pose a big problem to Battlefront since they are way too overpowered and can kill a majority of the enemy team before being gunned down. And having 2 of them on is just ridiculous. I'm sure there's someone going to be like, oh, well, if you just focus fire and do this and that and angle your gun at 45 degrees Celsius, then, you know, yeah, whatever, I don't care. They're overpowered, and that's just, you know, that's just it. That's just it, okay, guys. But, I hope it isn't a problem, like, maybe everyone playing was just shit. But I can't shake this worrying feeling that I have for Battlefront 2, but I am excited. Next up was Microsoft. Now, what we learned from this press conference is that every time someone says 4K, no matter where he is or what he's doing, Phil Spencer's wiener just gets a tiny bit harder.
4K, 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 4K.
They kicked off the conference by showing off the most powerful console in the history of forever, which is called the Xbox One X. Now, allow me to parrot the rest of the internet when I say, this is a terrible name. Xbox One X. Didn't it already have enough X's? Now it has 3 X's. But honestly, this is going to confuse the shit out of parents. They're going to look at the Xbox One X and the Xbox... Yeah, fuck, see, this is why it sucks. They're gonna look at the Xbox One X and the Xbox One S... See, they sound too similar. And think, well, I could buy this white one for this white one. I could buy this white one for $250 USD, or this smaller black one that's double the price and does the exact same thing as the white one, except it plays games in 4K.
4K, 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 4K.
Except we don't have a 4K TV, so what's the point? And don't give me that garbage about super sampling, because no matter how hard you believe in Phil Spencer's teraflops, super sampling does not offer the same quality as true 4K. Thank you. But if that's your jam, then go for it. I heard a pretty decent argument that if you're looking to play games at a high resolution, it's cheaper to buy a Xbox One X than upgrade or build a computer. I already have a pretty powerful computer. I could just spend that money upgrading it to be better than an Xbox One X, and I think I'm gonna do that. If you got the money, then invest in the PC. If you don't and you want that level of quality, then I can see you going for an Xbox One X. It's just, yeah. They also brought a car on stage, and it looked like a nice car. That's pretty much it. But they spent a good portion of their time vomiting jargon onto the audience before moving on to the games. And I'll give them credit. They learned from Sony's conference from last year. And I'm going to be honest, all of E3, every press conference learned from Sony's conference from last year. It was just game after game after game. Stuff like Metro Exodus, Sea of Thieves, Cuphead, Middle-earth Shadow of War. It was really good stuff. I like the gameplay that they showed. It was all very enjoyable. Like, I don't think there was one game that I wasn't impressed by. Like, there are some that are just... I guess I was just about to go back on my word. Like, some of them I feel like, oh, I wouldn't say to forget about it because I'm obviously remembering. And some that just don't tickle my fancy, but that's just me. But, however... Despite all of this, despite all the games they showed, I don't think Microsoft is going to pull ahead in the console war. See, all the games they showed were great, but most of them are multi-platform. If you can't get them on PS4, you could probably get them on PC, or at the very least Windows 10. So, personally, I still don't see a reason to buy an Xbox One X. So personally, I still don't see a reason to buy an Xbox One over a PS4. The latter just has more games. So, I'm sorry Microsoft, you can brag all you like about having 4K, but at the end of the day, that rhymed. But also at the end of the day, Sony is still in the lead in terms of exclusives. I would much prefer them to not have exclusives at all, but that is the reality we need to accept. Exclusives sell consoles. That is the truth. The reason I haven't bought a PS4 yet, just before any Microsoft loyalists come being like, "Oh, you're a fucking dick sucking Sony." Yeah, I haven't bought a PS4 yet, but if I am much more interested in games that the games they have, like Dad of War. I guess we'll go into them later. But yeah, Sony has just got the games, and Microsoft does not. They showed good games, but they're available for me already without having to invest in their console. Anthem, though, that looks fun. It looks like Destiny and The Division, but you're Iron Man, and that's pretty tight. This looks fucking amazing, though. Bethesda's press conference was short, but it sure as hell was not sweet. Bethesda Land, as they call it, showed 2 new games, Wolfenstein 2 and The Evil Within 2. There are a lot of 2s. And the rest was for stuff that's already been released, like the new... I don't know what they are. There's the Horns of the Reach and the Dwemer stuff for ESO. And also Death of the Outsider standalone DLC for Dishonored 2. Stuff that's already released. And it honestly felt like they were forced to do this press conference to keep it consecutive, because they've done it years before, and if they skipped out this year, then it would suck? I don't know. I mean, it still sucked, in my personal opinion. This conference was the worst conference out of... Oh no. It wasn't worse than EA. But, yeah, it was the second worst out of everyone. That doesn't mean it was terrible. Like, there was stuff there that was quite interesting, like ESO. Like, I'm ready to jump back into ESO. It looks like they've added a great many new things. Death of the Outsider looks interesting, but again, it's stuff for games that have already been released. There was nothing new. There was no surprises. It was just, at least for me personally, maybe someone was surprised by The Evil Within 2. I certainly was not surprised by Wolfenstein 2, because they teased it in their last press conference. But they could have just released the Bethesda Land video on YouTube and yielded the same results. Because their press conference was a video. It was a video, like Pete Hines came up and be like, "This is fucking bananas." Like, he said that like 3 times, and that's pretty much all he used the stage for.
Fucking bananas, fucking bananas, fucking bananas.
Also some VR bullshit. I don't really care about VR. Someone's gonna be like, "Oh, that's because you can't afford it." That is true. But, yeah. There was barely anything there, and thus there is barely anything to talk about. Oh, except for the Creators bullshit. The Creators Club, that's it. So, remember when Bethesda... I'm off script right now, boys, this is cray. Remember when Bethesda was like, "We're gonna make you pay for mods," and the internet was like, "That's fucking stupid," and then Bethesda was like, "Okay, we're not." It's happening again? They're just like, "We're gonna make you pay for mods. I know you didn't like it last time, but, we're gonna do it again. Except it's, like, not on Steam, it's built into the, like, games and shit." Bethesda. I never thought I'd say this. I truly never thought I would say this, but I think Ubisoft won E3 this year. I know, but hear me out. After Shigeru Miyamoto and Hold on, let me look up how to say his name. After Shigeru Miyamoto and Eve Guillemot initiated a hostile takeover of the stage, they showed off Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. And it's basically Mario and Rabbids XCOM, which I am very okay with because it looks fun as fuck. It looks like they took stuff from XCOM and Disgaea, like the unit throwing, and put a whole... It looks colorful as fuck. It looks fun and silly, and like I'm really digging what they showed us. Then they showed Assassin's Creed Origins. They showed it in the Microsoft conference first. I don't know why, but sure, why not? They showed it again in the Ubisoft conference. I know a lot of people aren't excited for this, but the changes they made are right up my alley. I love looting gear with stats and leveling up because I play World of Warcraft. I've played World of Warcraft for like 10 years now. And the setting looks absolutely beautiful. I hope the year they took off was worth it. Then they showed off the Crew 2, which honestly I'm not that interested in, but it looks like they're taking a step forward, so maybe it'll be better than the first one, with all the new vehicles and ways you can race, so that's, you know, that's a thing. Then they showed off South Park The Fractured Butthole, along with a release date, and honestly that's all they had to do. They just had to let us know it was still alive and coming out, so I am thankful. Then they had some psychological horror VR game called Transference, no gameplay for it, which again I'm not that interested in. Look, the Ubisoft conference had some negatives, but the positives outweigh them, like this next game. Skull and Bones. I loved the pirating in Assassin's Creed 4, and I desperately wanted them to take that aspect and make a whole game out of it without the Assassin's Creed tailing people for like 5 minutes and bullshit like that. And lo and behold, my prayers appear to have been answered. Multiplayer battles using Assassin's Creed's pirating gameplay sounds like a dream come true, and I sincerely hope Ubisoft Singapore can pull it off. There's also a Kraken in it, then that's cool as fuck. Next was Just Dance 2018, where 3 Sub-Zeros from Mortal Kombat and a dabbing panda took the stage. Also, there was a reference to La La Land, so I guess it was forgivable. Except this conference, except it wasn't a La La Land reference. It was a Moonlight reference. Sorry, everyone. Moonlight. That was Moonlight, right? References? Anybody? References? Then there was some other bollocks, which was pretty forgettable before they showed Far Cry 5. And it looked like a Far Cry game. But Boomer looks like a good boy. Then, at the very end, Ubisoft revealed that they were a bunch of fucking liars and showed a CG trailer for Beyond Good and Evil 2.
What? What? That's Swiss fucking chocolate, pig. Bon appetito.
Now, I didn't play Beyond Good and Evil 1, but I know this is something a lot of people were asking for, so I'm glad to see it being developed. But what made this conference stand out was the genuine reactions we got from some of the developers. They looked proud of their work, and it's these moments that make any press conference shine. So yes, it had some low points, but Ubisoft showed off a bunch of cool shit that got me excited for this year and next year. So that's why I believe Ubisoft won E3. After Ubisoft was Sony. And there wasn't a whole lot new shown. It was very similar to Bethesda, except it was better. It was better than Bethesda, trust me. There was DLC for Horizon Zero Dawn, which is a game we saw last year. Days Gone was shown, which is a game they showed last year. Dad of War was shown, which was also something we saw last year. Spider-Man was shown, some gameplay, which again, we saw a trailer for last year. Now, don't get me wrong, all the stuff they showed off looked great, but there wasn't enough there that surprised me or got me excited. except for Spider-Man, which looks mechanically amazing. It looks like they've really captured the feeling of being Spider-Man, using the webbing and the martial arts, along with the web swinging and the parkour elements. Like, I know it was a heavily scripted scene, it was a cinematic, mission sort of deal, but it still looked fantastic. Like, the way Spider-Man was using his environment and his webbing and his, physical punching shit, looked fantastic. Like, there's a part where he's walloping the fuck out of this guy, and he sends him off the edge of the building, and then, keeps up this juggling combo, and then swings him back onto the building, because Spider-Man doesn't kill people, and I was like, this is absolutely Spider-Man. I was honestly blown away by the Spider-Man thing. I know I was saying, there wasn't enough that surprised me, but Spider-Man was fucking top-notch. I loved it. I loved every moment of it. I know people have been like, oh, it looks far too much like Arkham. It looks like Arkham. You know what? Arkham has a good combat system, so if they want to use it, then fuck it. Let them use it. I still don't know how someone like Spider-Man, who is running around in a white, red, and blue suit, can somehow be stealthy. But, he did it. But he's Spidey. They also teased Miles Morales at the very end. He's filming the webbed up thing, which everyone was just like, oh my god, are there going to be 2 Spider-Mans? Imagine if Peter Parker died in the game, and then at the second half of the game you played as Miles. That'd be kind of cray, don't you think? Yeah, I think it'd be kind of cray. Or you could switch between the two. I don't know. I'm not familiar with the comics. Someone let me know if there was ever 2 Spider-Men active at once that weren't from parallel universes or some shit. They also showed Monster Hunter. Now, I know a lot of people, after hearing me say there wasn't enough surprise in this conference, are going to be like, well, what about Monster Hunter World? I have never played a Monster Hunter game. But the gameplay they presented looked very cool, like the way they were hooking onto shit and being dragged and running around and using their environment to kill giant monsters. It looked cool, but I have never played a Monster Hunter game, so personally I am not as blown away as some people were, because some people were truly blown away. But I'm excited because it's coming not just to Nintendo consoles, it's coming to PS4, I think, Xbox, maybe, and PC. I'll probably play it on PC. So that's something to look forward to. I'll give it a shot. I will definitely give it a shot. But overall, they showed some good stuff, but they lacked, a lot of the wow and crazy moments that came with last year's, press conference. I was doubting they could do it 2 years in a row, because there's always going to be that down year. But, they showed good stuff. But it just wasn't enough to get me excited, except for Spidey. Also, there were those 2 people that were, bowing after the Days Gone gameplay trailer. That was fucking hilarious. Just calm down, take your seat, sirs. It wasn't, it looked good, but it's not, it's a video game, not Jesus. Last, but certainly not least, was Nintendo. Now, it always feels like Nintendo are the underdogs when it comes to E3, but that didn't stop them from dropping a few bombs on us. A few, well, there were small bombs, but there were still bombs. First, they announced they're making an RPG Pokemon game for the Nintendo Switch. Second, Metro Prime 4 is being developed for the Nintendo Switch. Third, Animal Crossing. Okay, they didn't actually do that one. But still, Nintendo dropping these little bombshells, these little bombshells that made a big splash, okay? I think that's the best metaphor or symbolism I can use. Little bombs, big splash. They got a lot of people excited. If they were to show gameplay of Metroid Prime 4 and Pokemon on the Switch and topped it off with an Animal Crossing announcement, they probably would have won E3. But they were just simple announcements to let us know they were coming, which is fine, but it's not scoring them the win this year. But the star of the show was obviously Super Mario Odyssey, and my god, the trailer they showed was probably the most entertaining trailer I have ever seen, and it was all thanks to the music.
Here we go, off the rails. But you know, it's time to raise our sails. It's freedom like you never knew.
I haven't played a 3D Mario game since Super Mario 64. So I am super excited to get my hands on this one. Mario's new ability that basically lets him possess NPCs looks fantastic. Like, they get a little hat, a little mustache, it looks fucking hilarious, but great. And it shows that the Mario franchise is not, like, running out of steam. That Nintendo, while they suck at marketing, and they are constantly, like, flagging and not letting YouTube creators make stuff on their content, like, they suck in those aspects, but they are constantly breathing life into these old-ass franchises that would have died in anyone else's hands. And it is fantastic. I hope Nintendo can continue to innovate their games like this, and invoke some of that magic that came with playing Super Mario 64 back in the day. A lot of people were disappointed by E3 this year, which is understandable. There weren't a lot of bombshell moments that got people talking, and a lot of the games they showed were just games we've seen already, just additional content for them. But overall, with all these press conferences combined, they showed more games than any previous year. I think that is a good sign. I think it's a sign that E3, the conference, is now focusing more on games than the talking bullshit that we saw in years previous. I think this is E3 hitting puberty and growing up. These conferences are now just going bang, 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 game, instead of being like, so, we love video games. Do you know what a video game is? I'm gonna tell you. Like, it's none of that bullshit anymore. Like, EA still does that, like, yeah, video games are fucking sick, eh? Can I get some cheers, please? And I want to be a hype man. But yeah, they're just focusing on the games, and that is fantastic. I know if they keep going in this direction, then E3 next year will be great. I know this in my heart. Hopefully. But with all that said, with E3 finally over, I think the overall thing we can gather from this year's convention is they are going to re-release Skyrim roughly 1 billion fucking times before we get the Elder Scrolls 6. And that is just fucking sad.